I just got back from watching Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and the previous two Sonic movies, I enjoyed them. Like, they're not brilliant movies, they're just fun movies. That's what I think of the two Sonic movies. Not amazing movies, not masterpieces, but I find the previous two Sonic movies to be pretty enjoyable. And the Knuckles show that I reviewed when the show came out, Knuckles was awful. And I didn't like the show. But I enjoyed the previous two Sonic movies. And after watching Knuckles, I was skeptical of Sonic 3. I was like, it could go downhill from here. And after watching Sonic the Hedgehog 3, this is my favorite movie of the trilogy. By far. Yes, there are more Sonic movies coming out because those movies are making money. And the critic reviews of Sonic 3, by the time I'm recording it, this video, it's in the high 80s right now. So it is certified fresh when the previous two movies were in the 60s. So of course Paramount's gonna make another Sonic. This movie is a much more darker and more serious film while still keeping the PG rating. And there were many rumors going around leading up to Sonic 3 that this movie's going to be the first PG-13 film in the franchise, but after watching it, I'm totally fine with it being PG because it's a good movie. Being PG-13, it's not something that it would benefit from entirely, or it needs to be PG-13, but like, it would be interesting if that movie was PG-13. Like, it would be an interesting social experiment. Because, like, a lot of parents, like, take their kids to see Marvel movies, and so it would be a nice social experiment, like, but if it was PG-13, like, imagine some of the controversies, and the point is, it would have been interesting. It's not something I didn't want it to be PG-13, that movie, but it would be interesting if it was. Not something I want, but it would be interesting. The Sonic franchise is while yes, it is a franchise that has an adult following because Sonic had been around since the 90s. The Sonic franchise has an adult following. Like, I've been a Sonic fan since I was 9 years old. And there are still kids who love Sonic, who are Sonic fans. Like, my younger stepsister, she likes Sonic Prime on Netflix. So Sonic still has a kid following. And you're only a kid for like a decade or two, and then you're no longer a kid forever. And that creates an adult following. And this movie is great. This movie was so emotional, and like, I can't believe this. I'm not as insecure about my masculinity, but I cried at a kid's movie. Like, there were some tears because this movie felt emotional as fuck. This film does not play down to children, and it is a much more serious and darker film, and that's one thing I praise about it. Like, I am not one of those Karens out there who said, Bambi should be rated R because Bambi's mom died, or, oh, that scene in Toy Story in Sid's room, and that spider baby thing, it's too scary. It's so inappropriate for my child. Like, like, in my opinion, I believe that children should be allowed to feel emotions. Like Sonic 3, has the concept of loss and death, because Shadow's backstory is, this movie's based on Sonic Adventure 2, where one of Shadow's friends, had a brother-sisterly bond with a little girl named Maria, and she got shot by the military, and dark shit. But I love that Jeff Fowler had the balls to adapt that and go to a darker concept. Children should be allowed to feel emotions. Again, I'm not one of those yoga Karens who's like, oh, it's too scary for my kids, or oh, Bambi should be rated R. Obviously, if I was a parent, I obviously, I'm not suggesting it would be a good idea to let your 5-year-old watch Game of Thrones or watch Trauma or go anywhere near GTA or all those things. So I'm not saying that's a good idea, to hold your horses. Don't let your kid watch Game of Thrones or go near Game of Thrones or Grand Theft Auto. Don't do that. That's common sense. But children's media should have emotion, and should have emotion. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And younger children should be allowed to feel emotions. And even as a grown-ass man, this film made me tear up a bit. And I don't remember the last time a kid's movie that came out that I've seen that has done that. And yes, it's common sense parenting. You should limit what your kids are allowed to watch. Don't let your kid go anywhere near Grand Theft Auto or Trauma or anything like that. I'm not saying it's a good idea for that, but the point is, children should be allowed to feel emotions, and kids should understand that death and loss and things like that, it's a thing that happens, and children should understand that. Obviously, but it should be done in a kid-friendly way without being too graphic. That's the thing. In concept, it's not bad, but showing the execution of it, someone being violently murdered, in a mafia movie or something like that, then yeah, that's too much for kids. That's not for kids. But having the concept, this movie has a message of how to cope with loss, and it is something that when the kids grow up, or might, if they lose a pet or a family member or something like that, this is a good movie. This is a good movie for kids who might experience loss. Not all kids experience that, but for a kid that might lose a pet or a family member, this is a good movie, and it has a powerful message for a kid or anyone from any age. The film's message is very powerful and adult for a kid's movie. And I I praise the message of this movie. Like, this movie does not play down to children, and I'm taking forever to explain it, but this film does not play down to children, and that's what makes this movie so good. And the best of all about this movie is that this film does not have any jokes that are cringy or juvenile or anything like that. And there's not a single scene in this movie that I cringe at, or a joke that I cringe at. Like, a lot of the jokes are, even though they're not great, I wasn't laughing, they made me chuckle. Like, none of it felt juvenile where it's eye-rolling or anything like that. And Jim Carrey is great in the film. Like Jim Carrey is in his 60s and he still has the same energy that he has in the 90s when he played the Riddler and the Mask and in Dumb and Dumber. Like, Jim Carrey still has the energy. And Keanu Reeves has Shadow the Hedgehog, and I thought he did a good job. Like he's a dark and moody character because of his tragic backstory, and like, even though he's like Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic have comedy in them, like Shadow is basically dark, even though he's a 3-foot tall cartoon hedgehog, alien hedgehog, and like Shadow doesn't have any comedy or comic relief to him. He's a character with a tragic backstory, and he has goals and motives, and you feel sympathy for him. The rest of the cast does a great job. Like, Ben Schwartz as Sonic does good, and Idris Elba as Knuckles, he's great. Like, the whole cast is great. Like, the human characters do a good job, and they barely take any screen time because a lot of people complained about, especially with Knuckles, like, there was too much Wade Whipple. Sonic 2 has the wedding subplot and all that, and the movie's entirely focused on Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and even Dr. Robotnik, Jim Carrey, and Gerald Robotnik, like, has emotional moments, and even the bad guys in the movie, like, you feel sympathy for them. Like, this movie, like, there are some things to complain about. Like, with the previous movie, Sonic 2, like, there are scenes that I would remove. Like the wedding subplot, I'll trim that down. Like, I would trim that down, and the retarded, like, dance battle that Sonic and Tails had to compete against a shirtless Russian guy, like I would get rid of that. But Sonic 3 has no scene that I would remove. And there's no scene or anything like that that I cringe at or anything like that. And even though the jokes aren't great, they're not laugh out loud, they still made me chuckle a little bit and snicker a little bit. But it's more of what I wanted more of, with Sonic 3. Like, I wanted more emotion. Like, I wish the flashback scenes with Shadow was a little bit longer. That's one thing. I wanted more scenes added to add more emotion to the movie, because the emotion in this film is really good. But this film is a darker film compared with the other two movies, and I wanted more of the emotion. That's what I wanted more of. But I'm still happy with the emotion that I get. I just wanted more emotion. I wanted to cry more. But this movie is a great movie. And if you have kids, if you have any children, then and you want to take the family out on Christmas, then go see this movie. Don't see Mufasa or Craven or all that other shit. No. Watch Sonic 3. This is a great movie. I usually don't score movies, but I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And an A minus. I just wanted more emotion, and that's it. And if the trilogy just ended there, then I would be happy with it. But there's a post-credit scene, and that teases more movies. I'm not going to spoil it, but if the Sonic franchise just ended there or took a break from it, then I'm satisfied with it ending here. But there's going to make more movies, and as long as they have the same director, Jeff Fowler, or have the same creative team, then I'm totally fine with them making more movies. As long as they keep getting better and better, then I'm okay with that.